First at 5. From the University of Florida's College of Journalism and Communications, you're watching WUFT News.
Welcome to WUFT News First at 5. I'm Liz Byro.
And I'm Megan Porterfield. Thanks for joining us. We start with news updates on the 2018 Marjory Stoneman Douglas shooting in Parkland. The families of most victims lost in the shooting are receiving millions in a settlement with the U.S. Department of Justice for the FBI's failure to prevent the shooting. The $127.5 million sum will settle 40 cases filed by the families. The settlement covers cases brought by 16 of the 17 people who died and many of those wounded in the 2018 school shooting. One family who lost a loved one chose not to sue. Families filed suit saying the FBI had received information that the gunman intended to attack about a month before the actual shooting. The Justice Department said the settlement is not an admission of fault.
A human trafficking sting in Polk County leads to 108 arrests. Among the suspects are several Disney employees and a retired judge. We get this report from the NBC station in Tampa.
Good morning, everyone.
It took 6 days for the sheriff's office to find 108 people trying to buy or sell sex in Polk County.
Then there's Xavier Jackson. He's 27.
He is accused of sending sexual images to someone he thought was a 14-year-old girl.
Oh, did I mention that he just happens to be a lifeguard at the Polynesian Resort for Disney? You think there's a few children around there?
Sheriff Grady Judd identified several other Disney employees accused of soliciting a prostitute.
This is the Honorable Daniel Peters.
Sheriff Judd said Peters is a retired judge from Cook County, Illinois, who thought he was meeting up with an escort.
He said, quote, "I've been on the other side of this." Well, I'd like to ask him today, so which side do you like best?
In one case, detectives had to reschedule a meeting. The sheriff says Bradenton's Seth Phillips demanded money anyway and showed up at the house with his girlfriend and a gun.
We opened the door with 4 of our guys with guns, and he's got a gun above his head. He's coming down with his gun. Christina saves his life by jumping in front of him.
Nobody was hurt, but they were both taken into custody.
There were 4 people accused of either grooming, sending explicit message images, or trying to meet up with minors. Rescues are underway in Ukraine after Russia attacked a theater. The Ukrainian government said hundreds of families and children have been using as a shelter. NBC's Alice Barr has the latest from Washington.
Amid the growing list of horrors in Ukraine, a new attack demonstrating the depths of the devastation. Russian forces bombing a theater where Ukraine's government says hundreds of people were sheltering. Satellite images show in bold white letters the word children written in Russian outside the building. President Biden today calling Russian President Vladimir Putin
a murderous dictator, a pure thug who is waging an immoral war against the people of Ukraine.
That after calling Putin a war criminal.
I think he is a war criminal.
A label the State Department had avoided as it seeks a diplomatic solution.
Personally, I agree. Intentionally targeting civilians is a war crime.
The Kremlin calling the language inexcusable.
What is inexcusable is what Russia is perpetrating against Ukraine.
Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin meeting with allies in Slovakia as the U.S. works to deliver an additional $800 million in military aid to Ukraine, including 800 anti-aircraft systems, 9,000 anti-tank weapons, and 100 drones.
We'll do everything within our power to support Ukraine in their efforts to defend their territory.
President Biden preparing to speak tomorrow with Chinese President Xi Jinping, who has recently strengthened ties with Putin. The U.S. has been warning China against helping Russia either militarily or economically, as the West seeks to grind down the Russian economy and stop Putin's war. In Washington, Alice Barr, NBC News.
For more on the Ukraine crisis, stay tuned for our PolitiTalk.
Turning to your local weather, Liz, it has been beautiful this St. Patty's Day so far.
Yes, it has. It was so nice to be able to leave the umbrella behind for a change. WUFT's Justin Ballard joins us now to let us know how long we'll be able to enjoy the sunshine.
That's right. We've got a couple of days longer before we can track some shower and thunderstorm chances. But for now, beautiful blue skies here from our campus cam. Temperatures are in the lower 80s. That's about where we'll stay for the next hour or so. But a cold front is on the way. Now, that cold front is pretty slow moving. You see that to the north and west of us, bringing some wintry weather to places like Denver. Right now, though, we've got high pressure over the central Gulf of Mexico. That's going to keep weather fairly quiet, not only tonight, but also for the first half of the day tomorrow. But be mindful, by tomorrow morning, 4 a.m., we could be seeing some patchy fog possible as temperatures settle into the middle 50s. I'll let you know when those rain chances return coming up in my full forecast in just a bit. Back to you.
If you weren't aware, today is St. Patrick's Day.
According to the U.S. Census, 31.5 million Americans claim to be of Irish descent.
But what is the holiday really about? Well, for that, let's join WUFT's Megan Hartnett.
Megan, please tell us the truth behind the St. Patty's Day. You mean to tell us it's even spelled with 2 D's and not 2 T's?
I hate to break the news to you, but that's what I do. Yes, that's a common misconception. In Irish Gaelic, it's spelled P-A-D-R-A-I-G. I dug up a few more facts about this popular holiday. Many people in our community were shocked to hear what it's all about.
St. Patrick's Day, a holiday filled with
drinking and leprechauns and wearing the color green.
But do you understand what the holiday really celebrates?
I know St. Patrick's Day is commemorating a saint of the Catholic Church mainly. I'm pretty sure that's the case.
Not even sure what his miracle was, and I accidentally wore green today. He was maybe the one who drove the snakes out of Ireland, perhaps.
The holiday was initially a celebration on the anniversary of St. Patrick's death in Ireland. Although he is the patron saint of the country, Patrick was not even Irish. Kidnapped and brought to Ireland from Britain, he is credited with bringing Christianity to the island. People often associate him with expelling snakes out of Ireland, but fossil records show snakes never even existed in the country. According to a study of the financial impact of St. Patrick's Day done by WalletHub, it's anticipated that Americans will spend $5.87 billion on alcohol.
I think people are just usually looking for an excuse to drink most days.
The holiday often falls during the Catholic season of Lent and would be a day where restrictions of eating meat and drinking alcohol would be lifted in order for celebrations to take place. Celebrations now revolve around parades in big cities like New York, Chicago, and Boston, but the first one happened in the Sunshine State. It's thought to have taken place in St. Augustine in 1601. A lot of places will be serving corned beef and cabbage in honor of the holiday, but you may be surprised.
My roommate is Irish descent, and she said that actually those are American traditions.
The holiday may have been Americanized over the years, but the need to celebrate hasn't changed.
Even though it's a day filled with celebration, according to WalletHub in 2019, 57 people were killed in drunk driving accidents on St. Patrick's Day. Officials urge you to remember to stay safe. Happy St. Patty's Day. Back to you.
Thank you, Megan. We're definitely ready for St. Patrick's Day here at the desk.
Yes, you are. We'll have some more St. Patty's Day stories for you, but first, we'll get into your political news. Coming up on WUFT News First at 5, this week's PolitiTalk with the latest on President Biden's response to the crisis in Ukraine. Stay with us.
You're watching WUFT TV News.
Welcome back. Now bringing you the latest political headlines from Florida and beyond. This is PolitiTalk. Let's get into it. On the Ukraine front, President Biden is continuing to show support to Ukraine, but he stops short of heeding President Zelensky's pleas to close the sky above Ukraine. Today, President Biden met virtually with Irish Prime Minister Michael Martin.
When demands on unity in the world are really accelerating. We have to be united, and we certainly are. And Putin's brutality and what he's doing and his troops are doing in Ukraine is just inhumane.
Actress Angelina Jolie joined politicians yesterday to celebrate the reauthorization of a law that protects victims of domestic and sexual violence. VAWA had lapsed in 2019. NBC's Kate Snow sat down with Jolie and Ruth Glenn of the National Coalition Against Domestic Violence. Take a listen.
Do you think sometimes law enforcement and judges in this country are too quick to dismiss allegations of real abuse?
I think this country doesn't recognize what a serious domestic violence and child abuse problem it really has. And I think there is a reality that when somebody harms a child, if it's a stranger, the way the law looks at it, the way the law responds, it's quite strong. Right. When it's somebody within a family, within a home, it is responded to less. And if you can imagine for the child, in fact, that's in many ways worse.
Workers at Disney World are staging walkouts over Florida's pending law that critics call the Don't Say Gay bill. The bill would ban discussion about sexual orientation and gender identity in kindergarten through 3rd grade, and lessons in higher grades would have to be age appropriate. Last week, Disney's CEO, Bob Chapek, apologized in a letter to employees for his initial silence on the measure. Chapek said Disney will be pausing all political donations in Florida. Now a Twitter account and an associated website are encouraging Disney employees to protest during their breaks. The organizers say they appreciate Chapek's apology, but say there is still more work to be done. They're calling for 15-minute daily walkouts, leading up to a full-day walkout on March 22nd. Republican Governor Ron DeSantis is expected to sign the bill into law. Florida's legislative session ended Monday afternoon. Here's a few of the ideas that did not make it. Senate Bill 490 would have required the teaching of Asian American and Pacific Islander history in American history courses. Another bill, Senate Bill 464, focused on the prison system. It would have eliminated a fee for newly released prisoners who use their release money out of business. Senate Bill 172 focused on the courtroom. The bill would have introduced animal advocates for certain court proceedings. This person will be trained to review the animal's records, then attend the hearings and provide a victim impact statement.
The U.S. Senate finally approves Florida's plan to make daylight saving times permanent. Florida senators have been pitching the Sunshine Protection Act for a few years, and it still needs House approval. Congressman Vern Buchanan is a House sponsor who says it will benefit the economy. He believes some stores would see more traffic with more daylight in the evenings. Concord Coffee manager Daniel Fisher says this year's Spring Forward resulted in fewer customers coming in.
It'll affect the business though, for sure. Hours, we noticed a drop within the first 2 days after the time change.
The next stop for the Sunshine Protection Act is the House of Representatives. If the bill gets signed into law, the new plan will go into effect in 2023.
Well, a slow-moving cold front will bring in the chance for showers and thunderstorms for the weekend. I'll pinpoint when storms could develop coming up.
You're watching WUFT TV News.
We warmed up nicely into the upper 70s and low 80s across much of North Florida. That warmth is going to be sticking around as well. 79 in Gainesville. Temperatures are going to gradually fall as we go through the evening. You can see a live look here over Ben Hill Griffin Stadium. Plenty of sunshine. Just a few puffy little fair weather cumulus clouds there on the horizon. Mostly clear skies are expected as we go into the overnight hours. 8 p.m. 68 degrees, falling only into the middle 50s by the early morning hours. There is the potential for some patchy fog here as we get into the 6 o'clock hour. So for tonight, that patchy fog will develop and be with us for your Friday morning commute. And it could be dense in a couple of spots, especially along that Interstate 75 corridor. I do think this particular model is a little heavy-handed, though, with the fog. So for tomorrow, yes, we'll start the day with some patchy fog. Temperatures in the low 50s as you're heading out the door around 8 a.m. into the mid 70s by the noon hour. An isolated shower or storm is possible by 4 o'clock. Those PM storms will be potentially on the feisty side depending on where exactly you live in North Florida. As we take a look at the severe weather risk, a bit more of a numerous threat for severe weather in the Panhandle locally, just a general isolated thunderstorm risk. Some severe weather though is possible along and north of I-10. Of course, we'll be keeping an eye on that. That threat gets a little closer to us as we get into day Saturday with that marginal risk. Now this basically means that an isolated thunderstorm may turn severe. Damaging winds and hail are the primary concern over the next 2 days. And again, it's going to be very isolated in nature. So let's kind of wrap things up here with your headlines. A few storms possible for tomorrow afternoon. Isolated strong storms possible for Saturday, and that's as a cold front moves through. Wind, hail, and again, an isolated tornado are possible, but wind, hail are the biggest concerns here for your Saturday. It's only a 30% chance, so I think there will be some dry time through Saturday afternoon. You see the temperatures dropping, though, into the middle 70s by Sunday, a mix of clouds and sunshine. We warm right back up into the upper 70s and low and mid 80s by Tuesday and Wednesday of next week. We'll also hold on to the chance for some showers and thunderstorms by the middle of the next work week. Back to you.
Liz, the start of March Madness is here. Have you made a bracket yet?
Yes, I have. I'm so excited to see how that plays out, but I did already lose a few games today. I'm also excited for the Gators women's basketball game Saturday. Coming up in our sports segment, we'll talk about the women's upcoming game against in-state rival UCF. Stick around.
You're watching WUFT TV News.
Welcome to sports. I'm Tori Edwards. It's March and the madness has officially begun. Round 1 of the NCAA men's tournament tips off today with a full slate of action. You may want to break out your bracket because we already have a few upsets today. The number 6 Colorado State Rams were knocked off by 11th seeded Michigan. Freshman Frankie Collins helped lift the Wolverines to victory by posting season highs of 14 points and 6 rebounds. Hunter Dickinson led Michigan with 21 points to help the Wolverines rally from a 15-point deficit. 3 SEC teams are in action today. The number 2 seeded Kentucky Wildcats will face off against 15 seeded St. Peter's at 7-10. The Wildcats have had a solid season, going 14-4 in conference play and finishing 26-7. Although Kentucky was dominant at home, going undefeated, they are 2-2 in neutral site games. Next up, the number 4 seeded Arkansas Razorbacks will battle it out with 13 seeded Vermont at 9-20. The Razorbacks went 13-5 in SEC play and lost to Texas A&M in the semifinal to finish 4th in the conference. Arkansas is going dancing for their 2nd straight year. Meanwhile, the SEC tournament champion and number 3 seeded Tennessee Volunteers just wrapped up against number 14 Longwood. The Volunteers conquered the Lancers 88-56. On the women's side, the Gators are going dancing for their first appearance in the NCAA's women's tournament since 2016. Florida will take on in-state rival UCF on Saturday. The Knights lead the entire country in defense, allowing only 47.5 points per game, on their way to a 25-3 overall record. That could make things more difficult for the Gators, who lost leading scorer Kiki Smith due to injury as she averaged 14.6 points per game. Gator head coach Kelly Ray Finley says one of the strengths of her team is how well they have adapted to the ups and downs of the season.
For this group, we feel fortunate that adjusting is one of our strengths, and we look at it as a skill that we should be able to capitalize on, and we have a lot of different lineups that we can play, and we feel very confident moving forward.
Florida plays UCF on Saturday in Storrs, Connecticut. Tip-off is set for 3:30 with TV coverage on ESPN News and The Call on WRUF Radio. On the men's side, Florida snapped its 2-game losing streak after defeating the Iona Gales 79-74 in the National Invitation Tournament last night. Colin Castleton and Flanders Fleming led the way for the Gators, scoring 18 apiece. It was the dunk by Castleton late in the second half that gave Florida their first lead of the night. Interim head coach Al Pinkins discussed the team's strategy to pull off the late rally.
The guys, I was like, hey man, what do you believe in? What do you want to play? And they said 1, which is our man. So we stopped switching defenses and just went to man-to-man for a long period of time, and we started to get stops.
The Gators will next face Xavier on Sunday with tip-off set for 1. Finishing out on the turf, the Florida football team is in day 2 of spring practice today.
It is the first spring practice for the Gators under head coach Billy Napier. Meanwhile, quarterback Anthony Richardson is back in action and was cleared to play after undergoing knee surgery. It was Napier's first time seeing number 15 throw the ball in person. Practice will continue until Saturday. That's your look at sports. Now back to the desk.
Thanks, Tori. This St. Patrick's Day, Gainesville is getting in spirit with Irish dancing performances around the city. The Gainesville Irish Dancers began their celebration at noon at the First Baptist Church. The group entertained guests with a series of traditional dances, including the slip jig and the reel. Last year, the pandemic made it hard for dancers to perform in a group. The Gainesville Irish Dancers perform again at 7 p.m. at St. Patrick's Church.
BBC World News is next, and the PBS NewsHour is coming up at 7.
But your Florida news is always on at WUFT.org. Have a good night.